Hello, 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 and welcome to Your Take is Excrement. That's right, it's the Poo Podcast.
Yeah.
Season 2, Season Poo. And this year, on Season Poo, we're going to be talking about movies we sure don't like. I am May.
I am Neo.
And we have become every fucking podcast you've ever heard.
Yeah.
We don't like movie. Hello.
Hello.
That's literally the whole bit of every podcast.
Well, we're not gonna do this forever. We just have to we're
not going to do that forever. We're going to do that today.
today. But before we get into it, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you, Machine Age Productions and their RPG #iHunt. We'd also like to thank the YouTube short series Blood Thing and our newest sponsor, Ambient Dream Studio. Their shop on Etsy. We'll talk about them more later.
Yeah, we have another sponsor, guys. Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? Well, all right, so patreon.com/excrement. If you like the show, please support the show. If you like the show, tell your fucking friends. Your friends need to know. And you know what? They sure don't know right now.
No.
Half of your polycule has no idea you're listening.
You need to
this, and that's
excrement pill your friends.
Excrement pill every single one of your Discord servers.
Yeah.
Now, Hostel.
Fuck you, Eli Roth.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
So last week we did the Green Inferno, and the Green Inferno is a movie that is absolute trash in every single feasible way, but it also tries to play itself off as kind of an exploitation film to get away with some of the things that it tries to do. And so I think it's one of those things where a lot of people don't actually look at the movie at face value and say, is this appropriate? Instead, they're looking at it and they're thinking, well, okay, it's a reference to something else, which was also inappropriate. So see, it's fine. And we got a lot of comments about that. So I thought that it would be something interesting to talk about before we really got started. But it's like, Hostel, on the other hand, is kind of, it's the most nuanced version of the same problem.
I legitimately think that its nuance is because Eli Roth was unable to communicate what he wanted to communicate in the film.
Okay. Well, so we're gonna get into all of that, but before we're gonna need to just straight up go through the plot so everybody knows. But in the event that you don't know, a little bit of context-y poo. Hostel is actually kind of a weirdly important movie.
Huh.
Yeah, I know. Well, in the lineage of things, it's kind of like, you know how things have a tendency to be important? It's kind of like, if you look back at your life and you think about a really shitty relationship you were in, but during that relationship, you got the motivation to do X thing, and then suddenly you're on a different path, and thank God you did that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Where it's like, yeah, Hostel's a shitty thing. It's a shitty relationship. But thank God, because it introduced us to new concepts here in America, like mortality as our main focus, and pain and suffering as a horror reality, instead of just hitting us with supernatural things that can't happen. It's more just direct pain and suffering is the thing to be avoided. And there's a truth in that. And also xenophobia.
Yeah. Okay. So this movie's about these two American gap year backpacking through Europe,
assholes.
frat boy douchebag assholes who have a douchebag frat boy asshole friend who's Icelandic, and they're in the Netherlands, and they're hitting up all the nightclubs and fucking prostitutes. And then some dude is like, hey, y'all should totally go to this Eastern European country. Is it Belarus? I can't even remember.
I don't know if they're specific. I think they say it's so there's this Eastern European country, but there's a small city, and in the small city there are ladies that are very attractive and will fuck everything.
Anything with American accent gets fucked.
And of course these guys love drugs and want to get fucked. So they're like, well, that sounds fabulous.
Yeah, so they go to this Eastern European city. They go to the hostel that they got recommended to go to, and they're like, yeah, it's actually shared rooms.
Co-ed
shared rooms, but it'll be fine.
Each room comes with 2 hot women that will fuck you in it.
Yeah. So they fuck these women, and then suddenly the Icelandic dude goes missing, and the hotel's like, yeah, he grabbed his shit and checked out this morning.
And they're like, I don't think that happened.
Yeah. And they're
Press
like,
X to doubt.
yeah. And then they go out drinking and partying some more, and then they both get drugged, and then one of them goes missing. And so then the last guy is like, what's up? What's going on here? So he like runs around and he's like pulling all these threads, trying to find his friend, until he ends up getting lured into like a murder factory, tied to a chair.
Where he meets Takashi Miike.
And yeah, well, so and then it's like this like weird effeminate Dutch guy who like eats meat with his hands.
No, he eats salad with his hands.
Well, but while talking about the importance of eating meat with your hands,
he's a fucking weirdo.
He's a weirdo. He's like a businessman, and he's like, oh yeah, I wanted to be a surgeon, but my hands aren't very steady, and so I pay to cut Americans up. And that's what happened to the first American,
right?
The second actual victim that we know about, or that we know, and so then the third guy ends up.
It's just like a rando.
Yeah,
is like a nervous rando is like, I'm gonna kill this guy. So he's like, I'm gonna use a gun, and then he's like, nah, this sucks. And then he like puts the gun down, and he like goes and picks up a chainsaw, and he's like, I'm gonna use a chainsaw. This goes south for him.
Yeah. So anyway, so the main character escapes, runs around, finds this like Japanese lady that he met in the hostel, cuts her eye out because it was like getting burned out. So he's like, all right, we just need to like
blowtorch,
cut it out. And then they violently escape the murder factory. And then the Japanese lady like sees a reflection of herself, jumps in front of a train, and then he goes back home and
he kills the effeminate doctor.
Yeah. And happily ever after.
Happily ever after is such a strange.
Also, I don't know. Well, I feel like there wasn't a scene of like of his self-reflection and the scene, the scene of like him like not. him it's like showing him processing what happened.
Yeah. Well, but I think that the same can be said about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's not like a moment where Marilyn Burns goes, "Damn, what have I done?" It doesn't happen. In the same way that it doesn't happen here. And
but there's I think there's more. Texas Chainsaw Massacre has a more cathartic escape.
Yeah. Well, yes. Oh, yes.
Like there's
without a doubt.
There's not really any like there's this cathartic release to like the pressure in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The big thing I think here is there's a car chase at the end of this movie where I feel like it would have been more beneficial for there to be a foot chase. And I think the car chase was they were just like, oh, we got to go through Dutch stuff. We got to get out of here. We got to get to the train station, stuff like that. But like, I want fingermen who are very scary with weapons, and that's not what we got at the end.
Yeah, the car chase is a little James Bond, and that like breaks the breaks the pressure.
Which is almost, it's like a Possession reference almost, where it's like it turns into a different kind of movie at the end. It's like Zulawski choice, but I don't think that that's what Eli Roth is doing. Like, I don't think that he's referencing Zulawski. But like my point is, this one's fucking weird because like so much of it is stuff that I just hate, and so much of it is stuff that I just agree with.
Right. Well, but here's the problem.
But it's why is he doing it anyway? Continue.
Well, I was going to say, here's the problem: is any take Eli Roth presenting an actual take, or is it part of his bullshit? Like,
this is all about nihilism thing.
Yeah. So because like someone commented on, it's like they were saying that we say both Eli Roth has no takes, but then when we talk about his takes, and like what we mean by that is
he brings up things, but he doesn't have the insight to communicate them.
No. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the guy who's like, well, female genital mutilation.
Yeah. Well,
And you're like,
yeah.
yeah,
He's the
what
guy.
you got in there?
If you've ever had a
About
coworker who wants you to, let's say, change a light bulb, and they take 10 minutes of your fucking time tiptoeing around and trying to get you to change the light bulb and doing anything they can to not say, hey, go change the light bulb. He's that person as a director. Like, he won't, like, he's too busy trying to like hide behind irony,
the
and
veneer of respectability.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, just say what the fuck you want to say, dude.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the thing. It's like the thing he wants to say is all this nihilistic shit. But the thing he's trying to say is what everybody wants him to say. And it's almost frustrating to watch him have that identity crisis every single time I watch a movie of his.
Right, because it's just disingenuous.
Exactly.
Like if you have a shitty bad take, at least be honest about your shitty bad take.
Yeah. Well, so, and of course, no one could have anticipated where Eli Roth would have gone with his career following, Hostel.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe that a movie where a woman gets her eye burned out with a blowtorch is directed. That guy's going to direct Borderlands.
That's pretty on brand.
Yes,
brand for Borderlands.
yes, it is. But like that man also directed a children's movie called The House with the Clock in Its Walls, and so there's a bit in that movie where Jack Black is like a magician man, and he and his like house and everybody make fun of this effeminate kid who's the main character, because the main character kid is like depressed or nervous, or awkward, and they make fun of him like openly, and you're
Right.
just like, damn, this feels like fucking high school. And it's like Eli Roth cannot help himself from being a little shit about everything all the time. And I almost want to agree with him, because I'm a little shit all the time
Right.
about everything, but I try to do it with some sort of purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a little shit about everything all the time with no actual real backing, no real ideology to back it up.
He's one of those like people who wants to be a deconstructionalist, but isn't even like honest enough to be an actual deconstructionalist.
Right.
Where he's like he's like half-assing trying to deconstruct things, but he isn't fully like he's only going halfway.
Right. Well, and it's not like not like his films exhibit a specific visualization. It's not like his films exhibit. I mean, when you think of an Eli Roth movie, I think of an ironic movie filled with gore.
Mm-hmm.
And douchebag characters, pretty much. And I know that that's like a meme. Everybody talks about how Eli Roth has douchebag characters. But the thing about that is that he clearly empathizes with the douchebag characters.
So it's like it's one thing if you have a douchebag frat bro in your movie,
Right.
but it's and if the point of your movie is like hey, like it's Americans do this thing where we go overseas and we just act like buffoons, and it's just like he understands that it's wrong, but he doesn't understand why it's wrong, I would say, and because he clearly likes the characters and he thinks that attitude is a good thing, or at least a thing he aspires to, and it's like the solution isn't don't travel overseas, like, because like his solution is don't go to these places, where the solution should probably be hey, when you're in someone's country, why don't you respect them?
Right. Well, and if you go looking for things that are too good to be true, you're gonna find them. And
there's this aspect of the movie of like sex tourism
mm-hmm.
that he's fine with, like,
well, but it's that's the parallel, right? Is the dungeon at the end of the movie? The boy is being put in the dungeon. That's literally like, if it's feminizing them. It's putting them in the position of a prostitute that they earlier in the movie would have been subjecting to their sick behavior.
Well, yeah. Well, so I think a movie about like I think fundamentally, if you're pitching to me a movie about how, like, it's a movie about how douchebag frat boy, like, quote unquote alpha male type Americans get start the movie, going to all these prostitutes, and are in this journey to try to find cheaper, better prostitutes in this like really objectifying, shitty frat boy douchebag way,
Yeah.
and then they get, the tables turn, and then they're on the receiving end of this like objectification and this like sex slavery. I think fundamentally that's a good concept, but I think the problem with specifically Hostel and trying to execute this concept is I don't think Eli Roth gets that critique or gets the full extent of that bit, because if you're in a movie where you're trying to like talk about how shitty people are to sex workers, then why is the first half of the movie glorifying and not even in an ironic way, but in a very genuine, like,
Right.
isn't it really cool?
There's no darkness.
There's
to
no
it.
darkness. Well, and so it's
It's not like they themselves are finding themselves doing things over there that they would not normally want to do. Like,
Right.
There's not a scene in the movie where a guy is like fucking a girl and is like, oh shit, I can hit her if I want to.
Right.
And then he chooses to.
Yeah.
And then he gets his comeuppance for that later. Like, that's not something that's built into the movie. The implication of that is built in,
but
not the directness.
right, but in the movie, like in the scene at the beginning when they're brothel, it's presented as like, oh yeah, isn't this really cool? We get to go like have sex with prostitutes. And then when there's a scene where the main character who survives until the end is like walking through the brothel, and he hears like grunting and sounds of hitting, and he hears a woman, and so he's like, oh no, like a prostitute's getting beaten. So he opens the door, and it's the prostitute's a dominatrix who's beating
The guy. And she's like, you have to pay if you want to watch.
Yeah. And so it's like, and so, I think if you're making a movie about how like, how rough it is to be a sex worker, and how, and how like men degrade and like belittle and are violent to like prostitutes and people they have sex with, then you should like communicate that, in the scene where the men are at the brothel, but instead it's only ever shot as this is really cool, this is really neat, fucking prostitutes is cool.
Well, and I think Eli Roth sees it as an innocence thing. I think that it actually has a lot in common with Mulholland Drive, which, hold on, I think by ill intent. I think it's fairly badly constructed. But my point is that so Mulholland Drive opens with that bit where Naomi Watts is like literally, like, her eyes look like she's perpetually having an orgasm because she's looking at Hollywood and her dreams are coming true, and she's like, wow, this is amazing, and like, I see this comparison to Hostel, where these douchebag guys are like, whoa, bro, holy shit, man, you can literally fuck anybody and do whatever you want here. But they don't realize that if you can fuck anything can also fuck you.
Right, but so it's just the way I kind of see it is when the frat bros are at the brothel. That's how like that's how Eli Roth views it. Like that's the experience through the lens of Eli Roth.
I think that's the thing, right? Is like in Mulholland Drive, there's an objectivity to its subjectivity. I know that sounds ridiculous, but my point is, somebody is observing someone's subjective experience and communicating it to us. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like Mulholland Drive is a dream, and we are watching somebody communicate the dream to us.
Right.
And so that is objectifying the subjective. The same thing is true of Hostel, where Eli Roth is objectifying the subjective experience of these people going overseas and doing this thing. But the problem is, he doesn't have the grit and the honesty within himself to really come at the subjective experience of these Americans. He ultimately empathizes with them and feels like he himself would participate or belong.
Right.
He feels like one of them. And so it's not that he views the end of this movie as some kind of denouement where he's trying to say something about Americans or he's trying to say something about himself or exploitation of sex workers, exploitation culture. It's not like he's trying to make a denouement happen there. He's trying to explain like himself.
Right.
And so he's not objectifying his subjective experience. He's just telling us what he would do in that situation. And like, I guess the problem is there's a lot of things here. There's so many ideas here, but he doesn't have the objectivity to really display them to us in a way that really gets to us, which is so like when I was a kid, this movie used to really bother me when I was like 13 or 14. And it was only explicitly because of the gore stuff at the very end with the eyeball made me feel gaggy, vomity sick.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just because it was a weird, disgusting goo. And
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of a weird, disgusting goo coming out of a human person. So for whatever reason, I just really didn't like that as a kid. But when it came to like the actual themes, when it came to like the messaging of the movie, what it was about, that stuff never stuck with me. That stuff never bothered me. The thing that bothered me was the fucking eyeball gore.
Right. Well, and it's if the movie is about, this role reversal and you're glorifying the person who's like paying for be it, the sex work or the torture. So if your movie's about this role reversal, then why do you glorify the person you're going to revile later on in the movie? It's like to such a high degree.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think that the main character is like such a douchebag. And then like I feel like this is true of the movie too, that the gay kid absolutely should have been the surviving final girl in this.
Right.
Like, but Eli Roth doesn't do that. He kills the gay kid because he doesn't want the movie to be an arc or have some kind of important value. He wants to fuck us in specific.
Well, but no, it's also because the main character is a self-implant, and
Exactly, that's my point. He even fucking looks like him.
He can't take the ego hit of having his self-insert not be obnoxiously straight.
Right. Well, and ultimately, like Eli Roth's view on the whole gay thing in the movie, which is something that I'm only barely noticing now as a much older person, but like his view on that whole thing is like, well, it's a vulnerability. If you go in there and you got a little heart, you're gonna get fucked. You can't go into that world with a little heart. Can't be gay in that world. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like this is a very good opportunity for gay resilience. But okay,
I think
fine.
there's also a way of interpreting the homosexuality in this movie as Eli Roth saying that, like, hey, if you're like young and confused, gay men will just entrap you and fuck you up.
Well, and it's not untrue. That is something that happens. But Eli Roth doesn't know that because Eli Roth is not gay. He doesn't know that. And that's also why he refuses to write this in a way that actually has some sort of nuance in there for that particular vibe. It turns into the thing that happens in a lot of like schlocky exploitation movies where the victim doesn't want to die but simultaneously does. And the killer wants to fuck the person, but simultaneously wants to kill them, and killing them is fucking them. Mm-hmm. So the scene is ultimately a horror scene where the kid who like hit on the guy in the bar and was like, hey, I might actually be gay, dude, if you want to bone me, that's cool. And then he wakes up and the guy is like boning him and he's like, oh no, I don't want this. Mm-hmm. That's literally what's happening. But, like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Eli Roth knows what he's talking about there. And I get that it's mixing it's mixing a metaphor, right? It's mixing the metaphor of like the gay experience in this particular instance, but then you're also wondering why the fuck did a gay kid come here anyway? And then like with this douchebag friend, and there's all this like all these elements there.
It's just
He throws a lot of things in there, but doesn't develop on any of them because he can't objectify his subjective experience. Ultimately, he thinks this about gay people, so he does it to the gay people like in the movie because of that.
right.
Like in the same way that like the main character is the main character not because he's the most interesting, he has the most compelling story, he has an arc, anything like that, but because he is the most like Eli Roth, therefore he is the most easy, he's the simplest to write. Like
Yeah.
And also after a point, like the fucking guy he becomes worthless anyway. He's just like trying not to let people die, like, or he's trying to prevent injury or pain.
Well, no, but because he's the Eli Roth self-insert, he has to have like the moment he breaks free, it's not really a horror movie anymore, and it's just kind of like a James Bond-esque action thriller of him running around trying not to get caught and killing the bad guys.
Right, which is a subversion, but also this is the moment where the horror really, really becomes flesh, and I feel like that's kind of like skimped on.
Mm-hmm.
They blow right past it, and that's kind of the big shame here. I think that's the shame in Saw as well. Is that this is the 2000s? It's the era of okay, here comes the cool thing, and we're gonna blow right past it.
Right. It's just like the whole bit of like. Of like a human factory where they, wealthy people fly in to like just cut people up. Like it's such a good like poor bit, but Eli Roth just isn't interested in like exploring it to the degree.
He's interested in exploring his own experience of it.
Yeah.
Which is to say he sees it in a specific way, but he wants to subvert it and turn it into an action thing because he thinks that would be the spiciest choice. He's thinking about Pulp Fiction, and the end.
Yeah.
Or not the end, but you know what I mean with Marcellus in the basement. And he's thinking like, okay, so it's going to be like that. And I get it, I guess.
Right, but there's like I don't know. There's like the reason the Pulp Fiction bit worked was one, it wasn't the primary bit of the narrative in the film, and it also had a purpose as like for the film, so it wasn't just in there to be a gimp sex thing,
right? Well, and it's very much like Hostel is an exploration of that scene of Pulp Fiction for an entire movie,
right? But
where oops, it's a torture dungeon.
Yeah, but
oops, you're a gimp.
But it's I don't know. I just feel like there's a much better way you could explore that and execute it, and it doesn't.
Well, there's better ways than Tarantino did it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's like the roadmap is not necessarily written in fucking the best ink. So like, but I think that the thing that people are gonna really want us to highlight here in this moment is to say that there is a scene where the main character, who for whatever reason has nothing to say, no thoughts in his head, no experience, and no real morality, is confronted with another American. And the other American's like, I'm going to go shoot a bitch.
Yeah.
And then he realizes, oh shit, and says, I'm going to shoot a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's confronted with the reality that Americans come here to pay to kill other Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, like, he couldn't fathom the thought of that, even though he, like, is participating in that very thing where he's going overseas to have sex with people that he would like to have sex with in his own country, but is doing it here. And he's doing it here because it's, like, permissive,
mm-hmm.
and it's, like, different.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And so it's about tolerance, I think, too, where it's like, you can tolerate the crime stuff, but if you tolerate the crime stuff, crime stuff might happen to you, honey. And
Right.
that's fair. That's a fair exploitation thing. But also, Eli Roth later on in his career directed Death Wish, a remake of Death Wish. And do you know what Death Wish is?
Nope.
So Death Wish is a movie about a guy who his daughter is like raped. So he goes and buys a gun and decides to shoot everybody who's bad in the world and becomes like a vigilante with a gun, you know, and he becomes Death Wish, you know. So it's a right-wing propaganda movie.
No.
I can't believe, I know.
From Eli Roth?
Well,
What?
Yeah. Well, and so it's a remake of a Michael Winner right-wing propaganda movie. And so knowing this, I think that changes our relationship to the end of Hostel 2, because I mean Hostel, not Hostel 2, but if you really ever question Eli's motives, I think you should just give Death Wish a little watch. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do some ads.
All right. First of all, we'd like to thank Machine Age Productions and their RPG #iHunt. It's economic horror about hunting monsters in the gig economy, where Viction is scarier than Dracula. It's Buffy meets Uber. Go check it out. It's cool. Go play it. Get some dice. Get some friends. And play it. If you're having problems getting dice, order them off of Amazon. If you have problems getting friends to play it, I don't know what to tell you. I was gonna make a joke, and I realized it was an ad, and I probably shouldn't make dumb jokes like that. But yeah, I bet you know where I'm going. We'd also like to thank Ambient Dream Studio, our newest sponsor. There's gonna be a link in the description of their storefront. It's really cool, kind of like psychedelic art. There's one I was looking at that I really want to get and will when I have some more money. But there's like the clouds are all like eyeballs and like looking at this dude on a road. It's just really neat. Go check them out. Go buy some of their stuff.
Blood Thing is a YouTube show. You can watch it with your eyeballs. You take your eyeballs, you put it on it. You take them and you look. It's an animated show. It's cool. You use your eyes to look at it, and it's animated. So you'll look and you'll be like, whoa, this is not reality, but something else entirely.
Something neater and better.
Phantasmagorical and different. This is like the weirdest advertisement for a product or service in the world. But anyway, please put your eyeballs on Blood Thing, and there will be a link. So yeah, check out Blood Thing. It's animated and cool, and very phantasmagorical. There's like a whole channel. This whole channel is a bunch of animated stuff, but it's not like your like viral animated thing. Like don't think like what's that guy? Oh my god, Film Cow. That guy. It's not like that. It's more like very indie and dark, but also not indie and dark like Jimmy's Screamer Claws. Don't worry, it's not like a fucking weird thing. It's a cool thing. So yeah, there you go. It hits right in the cool thing zone.
Blood Thing, more like cool thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I don't know why I'm so bad at advertising. Continue.
Yeah. So
Patreon? We need
to
mention.
go check us out. The patreon.com/excrement.
It's a place where we deposit our shit.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yeah, you get your shit early.
Ho. While we're doing advertisements, I feel the need to and the compulsion to mention that I have CDs for sale on my Bandcamp website. That's nickspheres.bandcamp.com/merch, and you can pick one up. I'll sign it for you. I got these postcard bricks in. I signed 1,000 postcard bricks yesterday, so I'm tired. Anyway, yeah, and on with the podcast.
Yeah. So we watched Blazing Saddles the other night.
Yes, we did.
And so I think it's really strange that Eli that he looks up to this and is like, wow, I wish we could make movies like this nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
When the bit with Blazing Saddle is that he's an idiot. Like his class of people, his like the people like Eli Roth are fucking idiots.
Yeah. Well,
Like there's the line where it's like these people, they're morons.
yeah, I mean, ultimately they're dumb. And that's the thing that marginalized people have over them is ultimately they're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So, which is funny, and that's the big joke of Blazing Saddles, is that ultimately white people are kind of dumb, so black people genuinely, like, it sucks that white people are in power because white people are really, really bad at it. But, like, every time black people get power, they handle it great.
Yeah.
Comparatively. Of course, this is a joke. Insert citation for place where black person had power and they turned into a monster and killed a bunch of people or something.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. I hear you. Whatever.
Well,
My point is, like, Blazing Saddles, is a movie that demonstrates in the 60s that you do not need to sugarcoat or hide or pretend that there's something else going on, and you don't need to dog whistle shit. You can just straight up say it.
mm-hmm.
You can just straight up say it. Like, and everybody acts like, oh, you couldn't do it today. But the thing is, people don't is the thing. People are too much of, like, they're too afraid, right? Like, Blazing Saddles is ultimately a movie about critical race theory.
Yeah.
So, of course, they can't do it now because nobody will just say, hi, this is the fucking deal. And this is why I was like, have you seen Sorry to Bother You? That literally is the same thing where it's like, hi, here's the rub.
Well, and it's we're gonna before we get comments, we're gonna clarify the definition of critical race theory. And critical race theory is a theory that in certain societies, racism is so ingrained in the culture that any attack on the racism of the culture is perceived as an attack on the culture. So, like, literally, what it's saying is the American culture so racist that when you call out the racism, people think you're calling out the culture.
And so you're immediately engaging in a culture war by criticizing the culture at all. So that is something that Mel Brooks knew, right? So when he goes into it, he goes, okay, I understand that they're going to hate the shit out of this no matter what I fucking say.
Mm-hmm.
So I better say it as boldly and as objectively funny
right.
as possible. Like, because if I'm not clear, this is going to be taken from me. And the funny thing is like, he is clear, and it still is taken from him.
Well,
they've still tried to take it from him. Like, right-wingers have still tried. They have continued to try and take Blazing Saddles as something other than about critical race theory.
Right. So the whole movie is fundamentally about how shitty and racist America is. And so when Eli Roth says, well, it sucks that we couldn't make another Blazing Saddles, where it's like, what part of the movie do you want to replicate, bud? Do you want to replicate the scathing critique of American culture, or do you want to say hard R-N words?
Right.
And we all know what Eli Roth wants to do.
Right. Well, and so Mel Brooks will use a hard R N-word in his movie because he wants you to literally fucking hate the person who said it. And like, it is that blatant where it's like he'll have a character say it so that you can fucking hate that character.
Right. So that he isn't sugarcoating how
exactly
fucking racist white people are.
Yeah, and so that was the same thing where I was saying what we were saying about the Green Inferno is the Green Inferno flirts with it. It'll say it, but it won't just be like, hi, I'm representing racism.
Right.
Like, it won't acknowledge that it's representing racism.
I mean,
it wants to say that it's being smart about how it's representing racism while representing
Eli
it.
Roth is someone who doesn't live in Hollywood because he thinks Hollywood is too liberal and
I mean, that in and of itself should probably say everything.
So when somebody refuses to live, like he lives in Brazil, right?
I'm not sure if he does anymore, but there was a time where he left America because he said that America was growing too liberal, and he wanted to move to Brazil where he felt that he could make the movies he really wanted to make.
Yeah. So when someone says that, and then it's like, I wish you could do Blazing Saddles again. It's like, wait, you watch the movie just to hear the N-word, bud?
Yeah.
Really?
And
that's your takeaway from the movie?
Well, and so to draw lines back to Hostel. Hostel is a movie that almost says it all. If it wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
If it wanted to, it could be the one to actually do it. Because, it's almost there. All the pieces are literally there. But he doesn't have the objectivity, the understanding, and the purpose enough to choose to do that. And instead chooses to do the things that are ironic. It's kind of like... And this is, one of the things that people really desperately like about him. You should know. If you've seen the movie Pieces, which is one of his favorite movies, at the end of Pieces, this guy assembles a woman out of a bunch of pieces of other women and sews them together. And
like that bit in Dragon Age 2?
Yeah. And at the end, the woman comes alive and grabs the guy's cock and rips it off. And this is played for laughs. And it's like a big what the fuck moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so Eli Roth loves this and does this a lot. In Green Inferno, there's that dream sequence where someone walks up to the main character and she has big teeth and bites them and kills them. That is a Pieces moment. But of course, he didn't make that literal like Pieces did. He made that, it was a dream. And so the same things kind of happen here where there's a lot of what the fuck, this is very surreal. I can't believe this is happening. Moments in this movie, but he doesn't take them to their meaningful
because he's insecure about it.
Exactly.
Because
he's insecure about it, so he plays ironic about all this stuff when he could very literally just say what he wants to say.
Yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier. It's stop obfuscating what you want and what you mean. Well,
and so what I said last time on the Green Inferno podcast is I said that he's very neoliberal, which is to say that he's very centrist, which is to say that he's very right wing. And this is what I mean. He's too neoliberal to take the thing that he wants to say and say it. He won't say the leftist thing. He's too neoliberal to do that. Then he leans on centrism to back up his I'm not willing to go that far thing. And so he'll lean on centrism for jokes. And when you lean on centrism that much, you turn into a right-wing asshole.
Right.
And so he's become a right-wing asshole based on this very pipeline. And you can see it in all of the movies.
Right.
Even Cabin Fever, his first fucking movie, ends with a racist joke. And it's not a racist joke, but it's an ironic racist joke where you're supposed to laugh at the racist. But you're also laughing with Eli Roth, who wrote that in there, but not for to say it all, not to really tie everything together, but just because it would be a nice Pieces moment. What the fuck, man? Pancakes, So it's just... It's he's got this ironic bent in it, and it's killing his movies because it makes him lean on centrism, and that makes him lean on right-wing shit. And if you watched Knock Knock, which we haven't seen, but we'll have to watch for the podcast at some point, Keanu Reeves is in that shit, holy crap. And that's the most right-wing bullshit movie about how women are evil and are gonna cancel you if they have sex with you. It's so fucked, man.
Yeah, and it's I'd rather this is gonna sound horrible. I prefer, and I hate both these groups of people, But like, I'd rather someone be like, "Yes, I'm a Confederate Nazi," than someone be like, "I'm not a Confederate Nazi. I just think that the South has some really good points." It's like if you're gonna have shitty fucked up beliefs, at least like be honest enough to tell me so I can fucking hate you for it.
Right. Well, and so it's like
Because
why are we still defending him?
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are still defending him, and it's like, okay, so he made a kids movie, right? House with the Clock in its Walls, makes fun of the kid the whole movie, like makes fun of the kid for being effeminate and kind of gay. Great, good shit, Eli. Fucking the Green Inferno. I'm gonna do a cannibal movie, but I'm just gonna lean into how racist and fucked up those are because I think it's more fun to do that
Yeah.
than to not do that or to have some sort of repurposed belief. He makes Knock Knock. Women are scary and bad and evil, and they're going to kill you and ruin your life. And women can just do this because women are fucking evil, and that's great. Death Wish. Fucking Death Wish. He made Death Wish. Why are we debating this?
Right. Well, and it's like, and he knows that the views he's presenting in the movies are kind of bad, and he's like, I you can sense like some degree of like shame in his own opinions in the movies.
Yes.
And then it's like, and that's why he uses so much irony to cover up his intentions and what he thinks.
Well, there's cultural anthropology, right? Where there's, I know about cannibal movies in detail, in depth, but I also know that they have wrongness in them, and I'm okay talking about that, and I can talk ad length about the wrongness of the thing, because that is an aspect of cultural anthropology. If you want to know about the bad thing, you got to know why it's bad too. And so, like, there's that. But then when you go to repurpose your cultural anthropology, I'm going to make a cannibal movie. He doesn't go, I'm going to repurpose this so that we can talk about the like weird racist implication of all of this. It's not going to repurpose itself to talk about that. He's going to use it as a platform to bitch about the SJWs that he doesn't like. And so you're like, Death Wish. He could, if he wanted to, take Death Wish away from its right-wing context, repurpose it, and rethink it. But instead, no. He tries to justify it further. So understand, his version of cultural anthropology is he will take something he likes and tries to understand, but refuses to understand it in detail. And then repurposes it in a way where he can reduce how problematic it is so that he can enjoy it further, so that he gets to do and play with the thing that he enjoys, which is bad. So it's like exploitation is a great genre to study because of the cultural anthropology element of it. It's a great way to understand our world and understand the way that different kinds of people view different situations in pretty shitty ways to market to you to get you to watch the movie.
Right.
But if he ever thinks that he's trying to do something grander than the exploitation movies that he himself is like worshiping, he's wrong. It's retromania. He's just doing what he's seen before.
But he like but he's not even doing it in a genuine appreciation, in a genuine way. It's like I just really value people like honesty and people being honest to me through their media.
Yeah.
And he's just so fucking disingenuous and two-faced in both Green Inferno and Hostel, where it just makes me revile the movies.
Well, and we were talking about this with Bone Tomahawk and S. Craig Zoller, where it's like, you know, a dude will make a concession with the thing he loves so that he can do it again. Right? So he'll go, okay, I like movies about how natives are savages and cowboys have to go shoot the natives. But I don't want to make a movie that's going to get me in trouble for being racist. So I'm going to say they're not natives, they're troglodytes. And then, I get to do the thing I want to do, and nobody can say no. And so it's the same thing with Eli. he does the same fucking thing where he's just like, I want to make a movie about cannibals and it's going to be racist, but I can't do it like that. I got to do it different.
Mhm.
Well, maybe if I market the fact that I treated the cannibal tribe really good, you know, maybe if I, you know, I don't know. It's justifying these things. And I know I'm talking about fucking Green Inferno again, but like Hostel, right, exemplifies a lot of these things where he wants to do this stuff. He wants to play with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He loves these toys,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't understand them.
Right. Or and it's like and I think I like a lot of like grognard military shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing like a lot of Siege with my friends, like Rainbow Six Siege. I've been playing like a lot of like Ghost Recon, just because I just like those kind of games. But then like you said something where it's like I just don't like so much military shit in my games, and I've been like seriously I've been like seriously thinking about it, like playing through this where it's like I really like these toys, but it's like it's not like the glorification of this is bad.
It is bad. Yeah, and,
Right,
and
like-
look at what it's trying to get
and so-
me to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so in like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, it kind of like it simultaneously hates libertarians but also kind of worships them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not ideal. Anyway, well, and so it's just to say, it's like I've been really like reevaluating my like kind of some of the things I play because it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Ghost Recon or Rainbow Six Siege, but I think like I am having to reevaluate my relationship with like the toys in the games and the concepts of the games and like and how I feel about that.
Right.
And I think that's like that takes. I mean, I think that's important for everyone to do with like all their media is you constantly have to like kind of deconstruct and reconstruct your opinions on media, and because I think that's just a healthy thing to do, and that's how you grow as a person.
Yeah.
And that's how you develop nuanced, rugged opinions on things, where you like pull them down and you look at all the pieces and you put them back together, and and then if in a couple years you need to pull it back down and put it back together, like that's just how you grow. And I think that
The way I'm going to put it is there's multiple ways to hate American culture. But don't let the aesthetic of hating American culture fool you into thinking that this thing that hates American culture hates it in the same way you do for the
Right.
same reasons.
right, yeah, it's the
Just be like people like South Park, right?
Mhm.
Until South Park says something they don't agree with. And it's like, yes, hating American culture is appealing until you realize why they hate it
right.
versus why you hate it and how that's different. And the aesthetic of the hating of it is profitable,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the point is, it's spicy and edgy to make a movie about how Americans go overseas to get prostitutes and drugs, and then they don't realize that they're going to they're putting themselves in basically it's the anarchy nightmare, right?
Mhm.
Where if drugs and sex work are legal, well, somebody's gonna fucking start killing people for fun,
Right.
Which sure, maybe, but like understand that there's two ways of looking at that. There's the way that Eli's looking at it, and then there's the way that it should probably be looked at.
Right.
Which is
where-
that this is a libertarian hellhole, right? If anything, this is explaining libertarianism.
Right.
And if you want to see it in that way, in a successful way, you can do that if you wish.
Well, and so like I feel like this whole movie can be summarized as like Eli Roth is violently fucking a prostitute and being like, "Ah, damn, it would really suck if I was her."
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like, well, my dude, why would it's like when conservatives?
If she saw what I was doing to her, she would throw herself in front of a train.
Yeah, it's like when conservatives are like, oh man, it's like we're becoming the minority. That's awful. And it's like, oh, why is it bad to be the minority?
bud?
Are you? Is this
What's
beca-
wrong with
you know-
being a
you know,
minority?
Yeah, like
Do you worry that you're not going to be heard?
Yeah, do you worry that someone will use their like
Strength and power
their
over you.
their homogeny to do something to you, kind of akin to what you do to every other minority? Oh, that's a problem. Oh,
And have for hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's like you're so close. It's like you are so fucking close to getting there.
Well, and I feel like this is the moment where somebody would argue that we ourselves are reaching the same conclusion as Hostel. But this is why I bring it back around to understand that the aesthetic of hating American culture, criticizing American culture, the reasons matter.
Yeah.
The deep inserted reasons matter.
The why behind it is important.
And the thing is, I understand that white guys are real bad, and if prostitution was legal, white dudes would probably exploit it and shit. But understand that this isn't the fault of the usage of that. It's the fault of the Americans in and of themselves. And so Americans hate it when they're exploited by themselves. And I think that that's what the movie is trying to do. But the problem, I think, is that Eli isn't a smart enough boy to put American on an American in this movie. Why not? Why isn't there a moment in the movie where there's an American in a chair who's about to die, and then an American walks in and is like, "Hi, I'm going to kill you."
Right. It's because he doesn't.
It's because it's not about that.
Yeah, it's because it's about xenophobia.
It's about xenophobia. It's about foreigners wanting to kill Americans. And it's like, no. If this were real, it would be Americans paying to kill other Americans.
Yeah. Like it would be Jeff Epstein's island, and
exactly.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do that shit.
It would be Sallow, not the other way around.
Sallow, this is not.
No. Sallow's like the good version of this.
So we're at the end of the podcast. I guess that means we got to make determinations about
determination. This movie's shit. I don't like it. I don't think it's good.
No nuance. You're gonna throw it in the poop pile.
No. Well, it's like I like the general concepts. I like if you
the aesthetic of hate. The aesthetic of hating American culture is strong, but I don't like the underlying reasons why it hates American culture.
I don't like
versus
the undercurrents.
reasons it should.
Yeah.
I think it's a movie that's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Yep.
So it goes in the poop pile for me.
Yeah. I don't
like any of Eli Roth's movies. I don't care. Like, I'm sick and tired of that. Like, there's this weird thing where you have to pretend online. Like, people will, because so many people like it. And I don't think it's that people like it. I think it's that it's been getting made, is the reality. People think that Eli Roth has a lot of horror cred because he talks about it a lot and he's seen a lot of stuff. But listen, I've got fucking eyes. Yeah. I have fucking eyes. You do too.
Yeah.
Why is he amazing?
Yeah.
What is so great about him having eyes and having also watched the movie I've seen?
Yeah.
What the fuck? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Why are we listening to him?
I just don't want to be mad anymore. I'm tired of being angry.
That's
at
fair.
Eli Roth. It's exhausted me.
I just like Eli Roth has always given me this vibe of who the fuck made you the boss?
Yeah.
And I feel that way about Rob Zombie too. But then I saw Rob Zombie's stage show and it was like the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And like, listen, the music's whatever, but he did a lot of cool stuff. Hell yeah! And so then I went, oh, he deserves every ounce of horror cred that he gets because he put his money where his mouth is. You know, he's seen the things and loves the things, has opinions on the things, develops on the things, and takes risks on the things. Eli Roth watches the things and then goes, he, I'm going to make this about how SJWs are bad, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm fucking sick and tired of calling like, who made you the boss, my man? He's got a podcast and shit where history of horror and stuff, and it's like, my man, I've seen horror movies. Like, why do people listen to him? I've seen them. I think it's money. I think he's got money. I think he's always had a lot of support behind him, big support, and it's come to a head where he doesn't really need to do much more than have eyes at this point. Because like if anybody broke down his filmography, I don't really think they'd be listening to him about much of anything.
Right.
Like, especially Death Wish. Like, I cannot stress enough how much that movie fucking sucked. Like, why are we debating this?
So
who made him the boss?
Is Death Wish the next movie?
If we watch that, I will... you know what? Let's do it. Let's go sit down and watch it right now.
God damn it.
I got coffee left.
What have I done? Save me from myself.
No, I don't want this to be the Eli Roth season, but listen, I do hate his movies, and Death Wish is pretty bad. Okay? Knock Knock is worse. Well, I don't know. Like, it's just so funny how, like, people out there genuinely are like, I understand Eli Roth, and I love him. I deeply understand him.
It's like, all right.
He's not like other people think.
Can you take a couple steps back?
And it's like
a little bit more,
it's
a couple more steps away,
a little bit further. Okay.
Right.
I'll see you later, bud.
All right,
don't talk to me anymore.
Here, let's make a deal. You go that way, I'm gonna go this way.
Well, yeah, and it's just like, okay, I saw Death Wish, I also saw Green Inferno, and I saw Knock Knock. 3 strikes, my man. All right, let's call this a podcast. Huh?
All right.
Thank you all for coming out and
thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to all our patrons.
Yeah, patreon.com/excrement. We'll see you next week
links,
with another shit movie that we hate. Because apparently that's the season 2, season poo.
Yeah, links to everything is going to be down in the description.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Bye.